Hi everybody, Christopher here. I'm back with a new toy unboxing. I recently picked up the NECA Toys GameStop exclusive 1990s movie Ninja Turtles. And these are, well, this price tag, they're $23 a figure. But they are very, very cool looking figures, and I can't wait to get them out of the box and see how they stack up to other figures. The whole set has been showing up at GameStop since early February, I believe. And you might have to piecemeal them. Some people have been able to find a couple or all but one of them at a local GameStop, and then had to order theirs from their final one from another one. Michelangelo seems to be short packed. I know one of the GameStops near me, they got 2 sets of all the turtles and only one Michelangelo. So you might have a little bit more trouble tracking down Mikey. But the box art on these uses some of the promotional art from the original movie. This was on the original teaser poster, if I recall correctly. And it's all 4 of the turtles sticking their head out of a sewer. The sides of it kind of replicate the look of the old VHS tapes. As you can see here, there's a picture of Donatello, and I mean, this is Donatello, so it's going to have pictures of him. The box art features each of the respective turtles on them. And each of these are using pictures of the action figures, but I'm pretty sure they're the quarter scale action figures and not the like roughly 7-inch scale figures that are in the boxes. But they're very similar. The only major difference being the bandana on the quarter scale ones was fabric as opposed to a molded piece, whereas on these you can kind of see it there and behind Donatello, they're molded in. I'm using Donatello as the example because he's always been my favorite Ninja Turtle. But they even the logo on the box for NECA is even reminiscent of the old FHE logos from the VHS tapes. And then on the bottom, they have the credits, which are the people that oversaw the project. So you have Randy Falk, who I guess was the director of the project. And then you have Trevor Zammit, who did the sculpting, and then Roger Fernandez, who's fabrication, probably the mold productions, things of that nature. Paint is John Wardle and Jeffrey Trapp. The photography for all the figures is Steven Mazurek, and then the design of the package is by Chris Ramo, or Rimo. I apologize if I butchered any of those names. But yeah, like I said, each of the figures boxes feature their respective turtles in the artwork. And again, these are all the quarter scales. Another thing that the quarter scales have, and you can kind of see it here in the promotional artwork, is there's more of a pronounced texture on the surface of the figure. It's a much softer texture on the smaller turtles, but it's still present, just not as obvious. But yeah, let me get these out of the package and we'll do an overview of the articulation and the paint applications. Alright, be back in a moment. Alright, we're back, and I've gotten them all out of the package. I did some posing. This is the poses are based on, I think it was Sideshow's Ninja Turtles statues that they did, and I like those poses, so I kind of replicated them as close as I could with the poses for these. This is probably gonna be how I have them displayed on my shelves at all times. But all right, let me grab Donatello here, because there is something that I do want to show. Now, these were originally San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, and when they did them, Donatello did not have the ribbons on the back of his belt to hold his bow staff. And on the GameStop releases, they have included the ribbons, as you can see here. When they come in, they are just loosely tied, and it sort of adjusts and loosens up as you put the strap in and out of or the bow staff in and out of the straps. But what I did was I put the staff in there, snugged it down a little bit, then pulled it out to kind of loosen it so it's not super tight, and then just put a drop of super glue on the ends of each of the ribbons, like on the knot, and now it's permanently snugged up, so I don't have to worry about that ever coming undone. But that is just, a recommendation I would make. You can't really see the glue on there. It just, keeps it from ever loosening up on you. But if we do an overview of the paint applications, you can look. There's a lot of subtle shading throughout the figure to give it a little bit more depth. The belts even have a bit of brown dry brushing to give them a more worn appearance. There's also like nicks molded in and scratches and things of that nature, so they definitely look worn and beaten. The belt even has the rope, or probably more like a leather lace that would have been used to tie it together in the back. And you can also see the detail on the turtle shell there. There's largely it's a light brown. There are spots of green, and it's got a like a darker brown or black wash applied to it as well to bring out the details. And they've meticulously recreated the like the swirl patterns and everything. I've seen the movie a bunch of times, and I'd say it's pretty accurate to what they looked like. They even have all of the little spots that are present on the bodies of the turtles in the movies. I don't know how accurately they've been placed. They may have just been applied in a random pattern, but I would generally give NECA the benefit of the doubt that they may be accurate placement. The only complaint I really have about paint is how harsh the division is between the lighter yellow color here and the brown. I feel like should probably be more of a gradient. And I think on the quarter scale figures it is more, it's more faded and not just a sudden, change of color. But the turtle's elbow pads and knee pads have also been given similar washes to the belt, but it's unique across each of the turtles. Not one of them has the same kind of wear pattern applied to it. And if you look at the surface of the legs and whatnot, you also see little hints of brown and whatnot to highlight the high spots of the muscle definition. So I guess let's get into the articulation real quick. Each of the heads is on I believe it's a double ball joint. It may be a hinged ball joint, but it feels more like a double ball joint. And that gives you a really wide range of movement to the head. It can look up pretty good, and can look down a lot. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when they go to see April after Splinter's been kidnapped, and Leonardo makes a very similar pose with his head to that when they're standing outside of the doorway, and they can, they're posable enough to actually do that. You're not going to be able to get them sitting down very well. They don't have, the shells kind of get in the way when you try to pose them in a sitting position. So you might have trouble getting Leonardo into a position where he's sitting in a chair like he is when he's watching over Raphael in the first movie, but you might be able to make that work. A WWE folding chair would probably work for that. I don't have one handy, but if you wanted to do that, you probably could. There is a hinge joint, or maybe a ball joint of some kind in the like the ab, so it does get a slight ab crunch and then a slight side-to-side movement. You're not going to get much because of the shell and the straps and whatnot on them, but it is there for, you know, some posability. The arms are on a, you know, a swivel, so you can pull them up and then they rotate. There is no bicep swivel, but there is a swivel in the elbow, so you can swivel the elbow if you want to get them into, like, you know, say a position where they're reaching across themselves. They can do that. You got double joints in the elbow, but it is a little hindered by the elbow pad, so you're only going to be able to get it a little less than 90 degrees. It's not going to bend a full 90 even with the double joint. The hands, which will be easier for me to show you if I pull it off the figure, they're pegged in for alternate hands. That each turtle comes with an extra set of hands, and it's got the kind of normal Marvel Legends style hinge there, so you're going to get about the same posability in the hands as you would out of a Marvel Legends. The legs are on a hinge like the shoulders. They come out, and you can get them to about that far for any kind of splits or high kicks if you wanted to. They move out about that far before they start hitting the shell. You can swivel them out, but you're not going to get a lot more movement out of it. That's about the range of it. No upper thigh swivel, but there is a swivel in the upper knee, much like the upper part of the elbow, so you can get a little bit of range that way. The knees, like the elbows, are double jointed, but you're also not going to get much more than about maybe an 80-degree bend or so. So, you know, it's a little bit over 90. So I guess it'd be more like about a 100-degree bend. That's kind of going the other way with it. But yeah, so that's about the range of movement you're gonna get there. The knee pad strap actually moves out of the way pretty well with the articulation, a lot better than the elbow pad does. And then you have a hinge for the feet, so they move down about that far and up about that far. And then it does have a slight ankle rocker. It's a little bit tight, so I guess it's not that slight, it's just tight. So it'll hinge about that far in and about that far out. So pretty good range of movement. Quality control wise, the QC on these has actually been really good from what I've seen. I know some people have had issues with the eyes, but I think the eyes on mine are all really well done. There are some paint QC issues, nothing major, but my Leonardo had a bit of a spot taken off the headband right out of the package, but it's not a big one and it's not anything I'm really going to notice. Here you can see some of the different wear patterns applied to the elbow or the knee pads. The elbow pads have them as well, but it's a little less pronounced. But the only real QC issue I had with these figures was actually my Raphael figure. And on Raph, the lower elbow joint on him, on his left hand side, his left or right, is really loose. It's not loose enough to cause any problems right now, but I'm afraid over time that's just going to get worse. So I may try to put some nail polish or super glue or something in that joint to try and tighten it up. But otherwise, these have been really just well executed figures. They look just like the 1990 movie Turtles, the Jim Henson suits that were created for the movie. They just, I don't I don't know how they sculpted. I don't know if it was a digital sculpt, if it was, you know, maybe they took a 3D scan of maybe one of the, you know, maybe there are existing Turtles, you know, costumes somewhere in an archive and they took a 3D scan of it or what, but these are just phenomenally executed. One more thing I do want to mention on Michelangelo before I forget. There isn't a spot to just outright store his nunchucks, but in the movie, he tucks them between his shell and the belt on the backside of his shell. So it's a very tight fit, but you can get them in there. The way I've found easiest, and I believe other people have said the same, is if you tuck them in the side, you can sort of just shimmy them around the side of the shell and then just slide them down into position where you want them. And it's a little bit of a loose fit with just one of them, but once you put the second one on there, it gets much tighter. But yeah, these are just absolutely incredible. The attention to detail that NECA paid these just blows my mind. Especially for the price point. I mean, you know, they're just a little bit pricier than a Marvel Legends figure, but, you know, they're fully painted, they're, you know, really well detailed, well articulated. They're not quite Marvel Legends quality as far as articulation goes. There's a, you know, the elbows are a little bit, you know, restricted by the elbow pads, but that's also more owing to the design of the turtles themselves than to anything that NECA did to shortchange us with articulation. But the to keep the cleaner look of the turtles, which I prefer that they did, there's not a lot of articulation in the chest area, so you don't get like ab crunches, you know, more than, you know, just, you know, maybe a, you know, like a couple millimeters. But if you can find a set of these, you know, they're gonna run you about $92 or so before tax. If you live someplace without sales tax, then, you know, that's the price that you're looking at. But, you know, they're absolutely worth every penny that, you know, that they cost. I mean, they're worth more. The San Diego Comic-Con set was actually more expensive than these were when they came out. They did have a few extra accessories. They came with a TCRI canister and a box of pizza, but, you know, that's not the end of the world. The box for the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive ones was also like replicating the old VHS set, which was really cool. But yeah, if you can, you know, find a set of these, there's, as far as I know, they're still showing up at GameStops. I don't know how many waves NECA is going to do of them, but, you know, if you can find a set, you know, do so. They're, you know, if you're a fan of the 1990s Ninja Turtles movie, they're, you know, they're exactly what we always wanted when we were younger, and it's just a shame that it's taken, you know, almost 30 years to get, you know, a decent set of these. But yeah, I guess I will leave this review at that. I've got the Target exclusive cartoon turtles that I'm going to be doing a review on in the next couple of days. And I also have some things to talk about with that as far as quality control issues go. Like I said, the quality control on these movie turtles is, you know, really good, but the quality control on the Target turtles wasn't as great. So we'll talk about that when I review those. But until then, I'll see you guys next time.